This is the Hioki 3198 power analyzer as supplied by Tech Rentals. This is the kit. Now, when you open it up initially, you've got the calibration certificate and the accessories list. Now, we're looking through the parts supplied in the kit. We've got the power adapter to allow wiring for Delta systems. We've got a 200 amp, 20 amp AC/DC clamp. Now that can be used on the neutral, or alternatively could be used, for example, if you're looking at rooftop solar systems. We've got 3 1000 amp clamps as well, fixed clamps, and we've also got here 4 if necessary, flexible clamps. These are the 5000 amp clamps. So there's a complete range of clamps as you may need them. Now, here's the analyzer itself, also in the kit. There's the supply for the analyzer, and also there's a power supply for the clamps. The flexible clamps and the AC/DC clamp need a power supply, so if you're doing long-term logging, you may need those. There's also all the appropriate wiring for wiring up the voltages. Now, when selecting which particular CTs to use, the advantage of these fixed CTs, like this, standard things, big advantage of these is the fact they require no power supply. So it's a matter of clamping them on. You've also got to have to be aware of the direction you put them. Make sure they're all the same way, otherwise you'll have a number of meaningless results. Now here's the AC/DC. Now this one has a power supply with it and a range setting, so you need to set this range appropriately, either the 20 amp or the 200 amp range, and you also need to provide a power to it, so it needs to be plugged in by the external power supply. And you'll set the range, there's our power light comes on, etc. And again, for the measurements, for the AC measurement, it has a direction as well, so make sure you get those correct. Here's our flexible clamps. Now the flexible clamp is click together, unlock, lock, you put it around the cable, the wires, etc. Now this is switchable between 500 amp and 5000 amp, and again it needs a power supply before it plugs into the logger. We've got it switched to a 500 amp range or a 5000 amp range, and also again one has to be careful to make sure one provides power to it. Now if you wish, you can put batteries, but the batteries will only last around about 5 or 6 days. Again, you've got to look out for this arrow. You have to set the appropriate direction, all of them facing the same way. Right, to configure the power analyzer, we simply switch it on. There's a switch over here on the side. I switch it on and the instrument will boot up. First thing we need to do is tell it how we've wired it. Now, it pops up default on the wiring. If it's not on that, you can simply hit the system, you make sure on the system area, and you can move the arrow key around here, etc. It needs to be on the wiring, etc. Now, you pick whether you're down here, push enter. We pick the particular types of clamps. Now here's channels 1, 2 and 3. At the moment they're set to the 9669s. Now that's this clamp here is a 9669, so that would set that particular clamp. So that's the default setting. But if we're using the flexible CTs, we will need to select them. So we would scroll down. Now the flexible CTs, the number on those is around here. They're 9667s. So if we're using flexible CTs, and here's our 500 amp range, and here we go there. Flexible CTs, 500 amp range or 5000 amp range. So if we're using the flexible CTs on a 5000 amp range, we'd select that. And for the neutral, we might select the DC clamp here, which is the 9662 on the 20 amp range. So it's switchable there, so that's correct. And if you want to change the names of the phases, you can there. Now, having selected the particular clamps, we then have to define how we've wired it. So we'll bring it up here. Now, There's different types of wiring, etc. So you'll need to have a quick look at your system and try and figure out exactly how you're going to wire it. If it's a delta, you'll use the adapter. When these are wired, you'll get this, at the moment it's connected to nothing, you'll get this phase relationship will be shown, and it'll be pretty clear if you've done it all correctly. Having wired it up, we'd typically then switch to the view mode. Now, here's the system key. That's system, view, time plot and event. So I want to move to view, so I hit the view key here. Now, if I want to, I can look at the waveform for the voltage and current, or I can switch it to straight voltage and switch it to current. Again, harmonics, we can have a look and see what harmonics we're getting in various modes, but the most useful one here is the power, the DMM. So you should, when you bring this up, you should get the voltages, etc. Switch that to voltage mode, switch it to current mode, etc., and make sure things make sense. They should be positive, etc. You shouldn't be having negative values. If you've got the negative values, you've got the arrows the wrong way, etc. Once we're happy we've set this instrument up correctly, we've got the set all the wiring correctly, we've got appropriate phase diagrams here, we've had a look at the voltages, everything looks as if it's behaving itself. We then need to switch to recording mode to actually start that. Now when we switch to recording mode, we can set the time interval. At the moment I've got it set to 1 second, but this would typically be set maybe to 15 minutes. 1 second only gives you 17 hours of recording, but normally, as I say, 15 minutes, because that's the time period which you'd be recording information. It's your billing period. You may set it faster than that. You may set it to 1 minute. There's 35 days. If you set it to so you pick an appropriate rate. At the moment I've got it set to 1 second, just so that I can actually record some data quite quickly. Now, this will be the logging part of it. The next thing we've got to worry about is setting up which particular events. Now we can compare with waveforms. We can change around, we can set allowable limits, etc. on channels 1, 2 and 3, and then on channel 4 if we want to for voltage. Same thing, we switch on various alarms for this when we the RMS high, RMS low, etc., all that sort of stuff. And if we wish, we can actually compare it to waveform in terms of events. We can also have active power, reactive power, etc., etc. Alarms for those, alarms for the current, and various alarms for the harmonics. Once you've got all of those set up how you want them, it's just a matter of hitting start. Now, the logger is now recording. We could have set a time and date for it to start. If you notice, there was a time and date. It's now writing to SD card. Now, if at any stage you want to stop to do something else or whatever, or move it, or I don't know what. Anyway, when we hit stop, something you've got to watch out for. Are you still sure you want to stop recording? Yes. Now, it will switch now to analysing mode. Now, one of the things, if you want to go then, it's what it's done. It's written the data from internal memory down to the SD card. You cannot do, you can look at the data, etc. You can view the events which have occurred. You can view the time plots, etc., etc. But you can't push start again. We'll come back with this message, right? Operation not available while analysing in process. Now that's analysing data which is in the internal memory. Now we can clear the stuff out of internal memory by hitting this data reset button just here. Hit that, and it says data reset will delete all data stored in internal memory, not on the SD card, so it's only internal memory. Enter. Yes. Now we're back to normal and we can start logging. Right, now we're recording again, and etc. So I'm going to record a little bit and hit stop. So there should be actually 2 logs on the SD card. So I'm going to go back. I'll hit over here, let's see, we've got to hit system, record waveform and memory, and they're the 2 logs which we've taken to date because we started it twice. So now it's in analysing mode. We can't start again. We'd have to do a data reset, which is removing the data from the logger's actual memory, but not removing it from the SD card. Now, we can recall stuff from the SD card if necessary, if you want to bring it back in. But all the data's there. So that's the Hioki 3198 as supplied by Tech Rentals. It's very precise, highly configurable, easy to use system, and Tech Rentals supply a very comprehensive kit with everything you'll need.